Britt
It's a
Schwartz.
little anticlimactic when you did the 5, 4, 3 and then had to hit recording. Sorry, Darren.
I'll do it again, right?
Yeah.
5, 4. There we go. Britt Schwartz. How are you?
Darren.
Episode 24.
Episode 24. How lucky am I?
How did I actually get this to go to 24 episodes? It is so lovely to have you today. It is as always, it's lovely to see you. So the folks that know DSM up here with our brick wall, that, my friends, that you're seeing behind Miss Schwartz here, that is real brick wall from 1920s or maybe even the 1800s.
I think we discovered this building was built in 1890. This one.
1890.
It was a sausage factory.
Sausage factory, and there were actual markings on the wall when I went.
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now. Yep, for the different pounds of the meat. Of
said pork products, which we were actually talking about earlier, because I literally got obviously we're in digital marketing, both of us. I don't understand how the Instagram algorithm got me to purchase plant-based ramen noodles today, but they got me. Like I said, I hadn't had a ramen noodle, probably like real ramen noodles, since like my freshman year of college. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. A little tired, but pretty incredible. I can tell you how you got to 24 episodes, by the way. I have an answer.
Okay.
You did it.
I did
Boom.
it.
You just did it. You just did it.
You know what I liken it to? I liken it to getting the privilege of knowing a lot of really awesome people.
Yeah.
Both in my personal life, like the first one was my mom, all the way now to you, the friends I've made, the relationships. So obviously both of us know that those relationships are very important.
Absolutely.
So before we start today, you have as a unique privilege. So Britt and I both have 13-year-old daughters. I'm obviously way older than Britt is, and like the gray hair thing and the whole thing. But so today, Miss Schwartz, you get the privilege. So this, I had to explain to my daughter, Olivia, because she's going to be in 8th grader in September. And I said, here is me back in the day at your age. And we're trying to connect and have a moment because
she's 13.
It's just really hard.
I think any parent of a 13-year-old can just say, because she's 13 and we understand.
Okay. So right here, I don't know if you can see this guy.
Where are you?
Right there. It's dorky Darren.
God, you don't look like a dork. What are you talking about? Darren, you're so cute.
You see my super cool. So I'll give you, so I was trying to explain to Olivia, I'm like, Olivia, well, first of all, I got braces in high school. So I had this huge gap in my front teeth, and the polo shirt, I don't know what my parents.
Is it flipped over? Do you have your collar flipped? Is that what
I don't have my collar? No, I wasn't a big collar flip guy. Super awkward. I grew about, I would say I was right in the middle of a humongous growth spurt. So I grew about a foot between the 6th grade and the 8th grade, like going into my freshman year. But I was trying to explain to my daughter that, like, I get it. I was you once.
Yeah.
I'm literally going back. This was, you talk about dating ourselves. This was 1990. Okay. How about that? But yeah, it's one of those ages, and we're trying to make a connection. We're trying to connect. So yeah, we're both going through this, but tell us a little bit. I have a whole thing that I want to get into specifically with you, because going back to being young and feeling young, as I said, when Britt and I met, which was probably year and a half ago now.
Year and a half ago. Yep.
Year and a half ago. Met during COVID. This is another one of those relationships that probably, I'm not saying it would have never happened, because I've always been kind of active on LinkedIn, but it was one of those relationships that it was like during COVID, it was just grinding me down. It was
Yeah.
just getting to a point where it was really it was getting tough, and
Heavy. It was heavy.
it was heavy. It was heavy. But Britt was going through a time with her company. Again, you guys are now what, like 4 years in on what
Three
you're
and a half.
doing? Three and a half years in.
Mhm.
And they have a really awesome agency. Her and her partner Bob have a really awesome agency down in Knoxville, Tennessee called BS&Co. And it was right at a time where I love seeing younger folks going through some of the same challenges. But the difference with Britt was that she was very open to sharing those difficult situations that were happening. And it struck a chord in me because it was one of those things where I reached out and I was like, just keep going. And it was like, it was a very like moving moment for me because of what we were going through, but we were going through it like 10 years later in our journey.
Yeah.
But it was like, it doesn't matter if you're 2 years in or you're 12 years in, everybody's going through something difficult. And it really helped me to kind of like flip the switch, get back into it, really start hustling again. And so for that, I thank you, because there's not many people. I have a tremendous amount of respect for you. One, because there's not a lot of people who would share that.
Yeah.
And the stuff you were going through wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. It was character building.
Yes.
It was going through it at times when you probably were like, what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah.
And so sharing that, I want to say thank you to you, because you actually probably didn't realize it, and you didn't actually know me yet, but you were actually helping me get through something that, I was going through. And so thank you. But I'm going to give you the floor. I talked a lot. I'm going to give you the floor. Tell us a little bit about Britt Schwartz, BS&Co, and how it came to be.
Oh yeah. So before I get into that, I just want to say thank you back. When you reached out to me on LinkedIn, you're right. We were in parallel paths, just separated by space and time. And having your level of encouragement was so empowering. So thank you back.
Oh.
So about me, there's not much to say.
Get out of here. There's not much to say.
There's not much to say.
Understatement of the millennia right there.
No, I am a proud mom of 6. So as Darren had already shared, we both have 13-year-olds. So my 13-year-old's my oldest. I have 6 kids from 13 to 2. They are the reason that I wake up in the morning and why I do everything that I do. I'm also the proud founder of BS&Co. So as you said, Darren, we're 3.5 years old. I had spent roughly 10 years in the agency space. I've had the honor of working for a 2-person agency all the way up to one of the largest content marketing agencies in the country. And so I had this opportunity to see the good, the bad, and the ugly, if you will. And I like to consider myself a tactician first. I truly love the work. I love connecting with businesses. I love understanding their goals, and not just from a tell me what your goals are, but to really understand the business, what's happening in your markets. I think I'm just a very nosy person, but I can play it off as curiosity well. And after about 10 years in the agency space, I realized that there was so much that I admired and also so much that I thought was just wrong. I left and was going to go and be like a freelancer-ish, but I didn't want to be known as a freelancer. So I built a company around me, but my entire business strategy was to do it myself. If I could get 4 companies to put me on retainer, then I can pay for my bills and be happy and work the way that I wanted. And that worked for about 6 months. And then I had more work than I could take on. And at every opportunity when I could have said no, I just kept saying yes. And I was like, well, I guess I better figure out what that means, because I'm not staying a single person. In October of 2020, we hired our first full-time employee, which anybody who's known me over the last 5 years knows that one of the things I would say very, very vehemently was that I would never have employees. They terrified me. The idea of making payroll, of figuring out unemployment insurance, that felt like somebody else who wasn't me could do that. But then I did it. Then I did it. And in October of 2020, Allison joined us, and she is just incredible. And I was like, well, wait a minute, this is worth figuring out. There's some things worth figuring out: payroll, insurance, all of the fun stuff that comes with it. So we started growing. We continued to lean very much into our niche, which is B2B, cybersecurity, manufacturing, aviation. Basically, the harder it is to understand, the more we get excited. And I think we stand out because we really do love being lost for a little bit. Like, you go into a new industry, I don't care who you are, you're lost for a little bit. And we sort of like that. So we've grown, and now we are 17 people. And in September of last year, I welcomed Bob, my partner. He started out as our attorney. I realized that he had an incredible sophistication, or he had an incredibly sophisticated way of approaching business beyond what I did. So I convinced him to join me, and he did. And so now we're here and at our very next stage of growth, which is really exciting because I never thought we'd be at the first stage. And now we're at the next stage of scaling and going. And how do you lead a team? How do you keep the core of who you are alive as you bring people? How does it evolve? So lots of fun questions to figure out at this stage. And that's a little bit about me. And
that's the beauty of Britt right there. It's so understated. It's so
she rambles.
No, the story is so much. Getting the chance to like know you guys and meet you guys in person. It's like there's so many twists and turns and things that could have gone wrong that you just, the thing that I love about you is that it was very much like me at the very early stages. It was like, where's the brick wall? Let's run through it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And then you stop, and then there's like the brick wall, and it's like, all right, the brick wall's done. Similar to your point about like, oh, wow, there's an employee and all the things I couldn't do. And it was like, then all of a sudden, I think there's certain people who build businesses with, I shouldn't say, they want the hard things. They want the challenges. And that's what kind of, that like friction is what fuels them. It was the same thing for us at the very beginning. And again, like I'm at a different part of the evolution where I've understood, like, and I think you've done a good job of this way earlier than I did, where it's finding the right people to complement. If you met Britt and you met Bob, it's like the perfect like yin and yang. Like understanding that, I think, is what makes people successful. Like the money, the accolades, the awards, all that stuff. If you find the right person to complement and understand and have a deep understanding that like, I can't know everything.
Yeah.
I think that's knowing your weaknesses is more vital to success than having the strengths, because even the best entrepreneurs, you had to talk to Elon Musk or Richard Branson or all these guys, they're like, I surrounded myself with really good people.
Yeah.
And
it is so critical. I don't think we're the first people to say that like relationships are important or the people that you surround yourself with are important. But for me, I mean, I've fucked up a whole lot. Like even in 3.5 years, the amount of mess up I've done is pretty impressive. But when I look back at the things that are right, it's knowing the right person in the right seat and who to bring the closest to, like who to bring in and to say, this is somebody that will run through a brick wall with me. And the other thing too, and it's such a fun evolution. So like the first year is like, oh shit, people will pay me. Then the second year is like, oh shit, more people will pay me and people will work for me. And now the third year going into the fourth year is, oh shit, we're doing it. Not what's next in terms of like, what's that next brick wall, but how is it that we take this team and continue to go through the vision? So I love running through brick walls, like just one of my favorite things to do. But now I'm learning picking the right wall to run through is pretty important at this point. Like when it was just me and I could plow through whatever I wanted, it made sense. But now I have 17 people looking at me and saying, where are we going? And I'm like, there. And everyone's tolerance for brick wall running is not the same. And so knowing which walls to say, team, we're taking this one down, and trust me, the other side of this is better, versus like that wall with the sausage marking on it, that one's there for a reason. We're going to leave that one there. That one's holding up the roof.
Well, I think what you just said, there's two very important parts of it. One, you're evolving as a leader, because as you get older, I won't say one of the best things my mom told me, don't ask a girl her age. Britt is
35. I'll tell
way
you.
younger than I am. I was going to say
35, Darren. The real question is, you're going to say how old you are. I'm 35.
Okay.
I'm still comfortable to tell how old I am.
Okay, so here's the thing. So Britt's 35. I'm 45. There's in what you just said, there's so many key pieces. One, understanding that when you become 45, not even 45, when you become 40, the brick walls that you ran through, they hurt a little bit more when you get to be older. That's just a natural fact. Father Time still undefeated.
Yeah.
Second, as you begin to figure out the challenges, not only the challenges of running the business, but having other people follow you, the biggest thing I would say in my growth trajectory as a leader is understanding that I don't need to be the greatest executor on anything. All the people need to know is that if things go great, they'll get all the accolades. And if the shit hits the fan, I'll jump on the grenade.
Yeah.
That's what the majority, I think, of human beings need. And again, it's not a good thing or a bad thing. I think there's not a lot of people that are built to really to lead.
Yeah. I've had such an evolution of what I thought leadership was. Like, here's a real fun fact. Prior to becoming the CEO / owner of BS&Co, I had never held a managerial role. I was never a leader at another company. So there's something that's been really fun about that, because there's a lot that I didn't know I was supposed to do, but it's also meant in the last 3.5 years, I've had to, and gosh, I can't imagine what the next 3.5 years will require, but I've had to skip a few lines and learn a whole lot of lessons in a short order, because creating a vision and convincing somebody that a space can exist is one thing. Being charismatic, having a vision, being able to communicate that vision in a way that someone else wants is one thing. Yeah. Being able to move from reality to a place that hasn't existed yet is a whole different ballgame. And that's the part, that's really the piece that I'm in. I feel today I still can have my finger on the pulse of just about everything of this business. We're at the size where today I can still, with short order, have a good understanding of the lay of the land. And I have incredible people that just surround what we do, so I can trust that. But now, how do you move something larger and continue to break walls that should be broken? I'm not done breaking brick walls. There's still too much bureaucracy in how we work and how services come to market. But doing that and maintaining stability for a team it's such a balance. It's such a balancing act between radically redefining how we work and also finding the things like this brick wall with the sausage pound numbers on it that give everybody who takes the risk of believing in my vision something to hold on to. Because if I blow it all up, then there's nothing for anybody to hold on to. So finding those pieces that like, yep, I can hold on to this. This won't change, but this will evolve is the stuff that keeps me up at night now.
Yeah, balancing the structure with the chaos.
Yeah. The forward momentum usually means someone's leaning up against their seat. So how do you make sure people feel safe and connected and as the train's moving as fast as I can get it to move?
Question for you, because I think that in something you just said, about the balancing act. And I'd be remiss because, you know, Bob plays a really key part in what you're doing and how you're doing it.
Yeah.
And the story, like, we can't get into the story because the story is way too winding and like too long, but how did you know? And I think that not only for listeners that may be potentially looking to go out on their own,
yeah,
but for but for us, it's similar in that it's unique in that you found a male to complement your skill set, and I had to find two females that really complemented my skill set really well.
Yeah.
Over the evolution of time. Do you think there's anything to that where it's like kind of like the opposite sexes attract in that regard, where it's like they complement each other's skill set? Like for me, Charlene and Zinka are organized. They are, you know,
Yeah.
they're very like task oriented. Like, we got to get this done. We're keeping
Yeah.
everything in order. You know, like I joke with Charlene, if it wasn't for her, I'd go out and buy a fleet of motorized coolers like tomorrow.
Yeah.
But that balance. So how did, in the journey of finding Bob, like,
Yeah.
how did that come to be, and how did you know that it was? Because I think where I was going to, I think for people that want to be entrepreneurs, but yet also it could really help female entrepreneurs have a good understanding of, like,
yeah, that's a really good point.
Why a male? Like, why a male, Britt?
Yeah, well, because Bob happened to be a man. One, like, he just happened to be a guy. So that's a really, really great point. When I left, I have to remember when I left and started the company, I wasn't looking to be an entrepreneur. I was looking to feed my family. And so strategy done. I knew I could bring in enough money and sell my services. I was a single person. That wasn't what I imagined entrepreneur to be. As things grew and as things evolved, and as I found myself saying yes to more things and being open to growth, I very quickly, and I'd always realized that I personally had deficits. I think I know myself well. I like a large portion of myself. There's pieces that I think I could evolve on, but I knew that I had deficits, and I knew that I'm not the person to show up and create stability all by myself, because I'm the mover. I'm the next thing, the drive, and I'm really good at it. Like I'm good at my gut, and it's all data, right? But I'm good at analyzing data. I'm good at making decisions, and I'm good at making things happen. When we hired Allison, it's actually at the exact same time. I had met Bob. He is an attorney, and I first told him that I didn't need his services. The very first day I met him, I was like, yeah, I don't need that. That's not something I'm interested in. But over a course of a few months, when we worked together in the same co-working space, I would go to him, and his answers were so enlightening to me, and so wise, and so grounding. And not once in the not 3.5 years, the 2 years, however long that I've worked with Bob, has he ever asked me to be anything other than who I am. He's shown me growth paths. He's given me advice. He's an incredible mentor. But the greatest thing that he says to me is, I need you to just be you. And as a woman entrepreneur, whether it's a man or another woman, but I will say, Darren, having an incredibly respectable man look at you and say, just be you, like, you are enough. That's the most empowering thing in the whole world. I think that we do fit together like yin and yang, but there's a lot more gray where we're the same. And so I think we move so quickly because we're so committed to the same outcome that there's this inertia. Nope, that's the wrong word. There's this motivation that carries us along. I don't know. I truthfully hadn't even thought about the fact that he was a man, other than the fact that I was like, I don't know, Bob came packaged as a guy. But it is interesting. And I will say this, and he would agree with me if he was here. While our gender or sex doesn't really play a role in how we operate together, the perception of us, it absolutely does. So when we walk into a room, for those who, and maybe for those who do know us, there's an expectation that I'm the empathetic one. I'm the heart. I'm the one that you come to, and Bob's like the hammer. And in reality, it's not as black and white as that. Bob is one of the most empathetic people, the most well thought out people, really advocates. And I'm the person that's like, all right, well, the numbers don't make sense, so let's go this way. And he's like, whoa, 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 come back here. Let's really think about this. So I think that I of it more how other people perceive us rather than how we work, if that makes sense.
It's actually interesting now that you're going through this and now that I'm thinking about it, because I would have to agree with you. And on top of that, so Bob will see this at some point in the next few weeks. Bob does have one of the greatest mustaches. I wish he would just bring it back. Courtney,
well, now that Top Gun's back out, I feel like we should rally for it.
I can get behind that 1000%. I like, he actually made me grow a mustache for a night.
Can you put that picture that I have of the two of you in this post? Like, can you get,
Absolutely.
I'll send it to you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the world needs to see it.
It was a little embarrassing for me because it was so robust. Like there's no other word to use for it, but Bob, thank you for the whole Top Gun Maverick thing. That's a great analogy. So let's bring it back. But that whole point about what you just said about the perceived notions, because it's very similar with me. Like Zinka, when we're in a room, Zinka's very cut and dry. It's like methodical, and I'm the one who's like, okay, well, if we did this, or what if this, and it's just like deep thoughts. The old SNL skit. It's one of those moments. Those perceived things, whether good or bad, positive or negative, it's a part of the world, I guess, we live in.
Yeah.
Not even from a marketing standpoint, but the world we live in, it's kind of bullshit. That balance, and I think there's a lot of similarities. I know we've had these conversations a few times, but in the organizations, it's that balance, like going down there, getting to see you guys in your element, what you do, how you do it. There's a tremendous, there's been couches slept on, there's been tears shed, there's the thing that I love, and Bob will joke about this because he's like, I'm the most unemotional person ever. Like there's feeling behind what you guys are doing, and there's a lot of feeling as I've come to see it with us as well. And again, we're a little further on in the journey, but like embracing that, the fact that you can have a successful company, like businesses where my wife and I differ because they've been doing it a lot longer than we have. But it's like business is business. Like it doesn't always have to be that way. There are things, one of the nicest things anybody has ever said to me actually was Dan Enrico on a call last week. And I don't even think we were on the phone with a potential new client. And I'm not going to share the story, but it was like, this is what Darren is. And it had nothing to do with work or business or whatever. And this was the first time we had ever met these two women. And I was like, I got off the call with them. I slacked them. I'm like, thank you. It was like one of the nicest things anybody's ever said to me. He's like, yeah, that's just like, you're a great boss and all, but that's not why I'm here. It's like, we actually like each other.
Yeah. I think that it's so incredibly, I mean, when you create a space, I'd like it to be filled with people I want to work with, right? Like that's something we get to do. And I think to that point, or where my mind goes when I hear that is, yes, there are things that are business. At the end of the day, if we don't run a successful business and we have to close our doors, then we don't get to be together. So like being a leader is this, for me, this balance between relationship and connection and authenticity, and also being like, I have a responsibility to make decisions
and to push you.
Well, to push you and to make decisions that keep us a healthy company, not just growing for the sake of growing, right? But to keep us a healthy organization, because we're all here because we're all doing a good job. And because we're all doing a good job, we get to stay here. And that's something that is everybody is responsible for the health of what we're building. Because if it goes up tomorrow, then I mean, yeah, I would probably still have breakfast with Bob every Monday if this went up. But like, I don't get to hang out with and work on the most incredible work with the team that I have. So I personally am finding this balance between business is business and I have to make really hard decisions.
Mhm.
And I love all of you so much at the same time.
And the fact that what's been a real hard thing for me is understanding that it's like, this is a privilege. It's not a right to be able to do this all together. And I don't say it in a way that's like, it's mine. It's, you know, it's a privilege to do it. But like the fact that we all get to be together, the fact that, you know, on most days, other than the occasional, like, I want to kill you, or we're gonna,
Yeah.
you know, like a brother and sister sort of rivalry,
Yeah.
like or an argument, like we genuinely care about each other. And it's like,
Yes.
you know, that's the beauty of it. Like I never created, and again, the reason I disagree with my wife about it is not, they've been running a business that's over 100 years old. So there's a lot of complexity and layers to
Yeah.
it. But she's like, business is business. And I'm like, but it's not always just business.
Well, I think that yes, business is business. And when we're in the business of people,
Mhm.
and for me, when I'm in the business of pushing the boundary as far as I can, I have to earn that right for the team to trust me.
Mhm.
I have each individual person here that looks at me and says, that's my CEO. That's the person that I signed up to work for. I have to earn that right to be the person that they're following to the next step. So like when I pulled my team together and said, team, we're not having managers like at all. There's no director level. There's no SVPs. There's no managers in our company, because truly that's not going to get us where we want to go. That takes an incredible amount of trust, not just in the vision that what we're creating, but Bob and I and me as an individual. So those relationships are so critical, because how you show up and that they know that me saying that is ultimately what's best for them, not my bottom line. And so I do think those relationships are so critical. And then they also need to trust that if I'm making a hard decision, it's because it's what's going to keep us moving forward and to keep us healthy. Yeah, definitely skipped all that manager SVP. I skipped that whole thing and then realized there was probably some good lessons to be learned in there, but that's what Bob's here for.
What, I'm trying to think of the most simple way to put this, because there's so many complex layers to Britt, as I've come to know over the last year and a half. What's the why? Like I get it's your family, it's your
Sure.
kids, it's your husband, it's Bob,
Yeah.
it's the folks. Like as a female entrepreneur, and again, not laying everything at gender's feet and saying that's what it is, but like I'm firmly convinced. I have in the 15 and a half years of doing this, I've run into very few people like yourself and I've said this to you, at your age, that have the drive and passion and the intestinal fortitude to do what you're doing. So what's the why?
I believe that I was put on this earth to make things as simple as possible. I believe that and it just so happened for me that it turned into business, that when I look at the relationship between me as an individual and one of our companies, or my team and our companies, or any sort of exchange of commerce, that there has been such unhealthy bureaucracy built between somebody with the knowledge and somebody with the problem. And I love waking up every single day and being like, nope, make it simple. Get to the simplest solution. And then because simple is fast and simple is clean and everybody wins. So if we can help in any scenario that I'm in, if we can help everybody win and make it simple. Plus, I just really don't like being told what to do. Like at the end of the day, Darren, there's this piece of me that just ultimately doesn't like being told what to do, and to say, well, why do we have to do it this way? Why do we have to do it? But the ultimate other side of that is that there's a more beautiful way for us as humans and knowledge workers to show up and to be appreciated, and for our industry to continue to grow, that doesn't require posturing and bullshit to make it happen.
And I want to frame this out for everybody on here, that not being told what to do, very similar to me. It's not coming from a place. This is why I love Britt so much. It's not coming from a place of screw you, don't tell me what to do because I want to do it my way. It's a place of like genuine, like there's got to be a better way. I always say
Yes.
it's the reason
Yeah.
why I started DSM, because I saw over 5.5 years of my career, both in a big agency and a smaller agency, I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this. Like literally, there has to be a better way to do this. This is the most, not only from a process standpoint, but from a human standpoint, especially at the agency that I was at before I started DSM. I was like, this sucks.
I loathed how I had to show up for a solid number of months in my life, years in my life. I didn't feel good. Not just I didn't feel good about the work that I was doing. I felt icky about the work that I was doing. And that was such a motivating factor for me to say, there's a simpler way to deliver services that move these businesses forward. And then now that I've had the opportunity and the privilege to be within it, I mean, yeah, you do need processes and there are things that are important, but at the end of the day, holding the space of we're all humans, and I might have the knowledge that you need and you'll pay for it and I'll give it to you and we're all better at the end. It's really that simple. And then furthering that question for me expanded beyond just how the services are different to how can agencies be structured that really allow their team, the individuals, to have the space and autonomy to be incredibly successful. What in our infrastructure gets in the way of delivering the service that we want? Do we need it? Nope. Let's get rid of it and figure out how to do it differently. And it's incredible because we work in some of the most bureaucratic industries. Like we work with a Fortune 500 company, and you want to talk about bureaucracy, they've got it. But we come in and we get to be this breath of fresh air. And will we change them? No, my goal is not to change Fortune 500 companies, but my goal is for our company to be different and for us to show up and make real impact for the business.
That there's not, they've probably been doing things one way for a very long time. And the fact that you can do it, like my favorite question that I get asked, we had a prospect meeting last week and they were like, do you have any experience in this? And I'm like, no. And the way they looked back at me, they were like surprised, like, why would you answer it that way? And I'm like, that's the whole point, man. Yeah. If you want a company being in that vertical and that's all they've done, they're going to be super myopic. They're going to be super dated. And like, if that's what you want, then we're not for you. And that's cool. Yeah. But if you were looking for me to like lie about the answer or to tell you like what you want to hear, like that's not what it's about.
I mean, isn't like the greatest secret or the greatest lie that anybody actually has it figured out? Right? Like, I think I see so much opportunity because whether you're talking about leadership or team management or business structures or M&As or Fortune 500, nobody on this planet actually has it all figured out. So why can't you ask questions? Why can't you go out and maybe you'll figure out a piece of a puzzle that works for today? Oh, and by the way, in 3 years, the economy and the entire markets will be different. So we're going to start all the way from scratch and solve those problems too. So the reality is that I do not believe that there is a single person or organization that from soups to nuts has figured it all out. So there's lots of space for all of us to jump in and ask questions and solve things.
Yeah. Wow.
I have something to show you, actually. The Top Gun reference earlier?
Yes.
Oh, I can't believe I'm going to do this, but I'm going to. So we launched our new website 3 weeks ago, and we did it 4 days after I watched both Top Gun. So I'd never seen Top Gun before, but I had watched the first one and then went to go see the second one. And now I have a tattoo.
Talk to me, Goose.
That says, "Talk to me, Goose."
Love it.
That's all.
Love it.
Between Bob's mustache and my tattoo, Top Gun should be sending us some royalties here.
Talk to me, Goose.
Talk to me, Goose.
In a lot of who we are and a lot of what we do, the mentorship and things that It's important, and you see it. I'm
You-
super. It's crazy. Like I was 9 when the movie came out, so for me it was like I wasn't in high school yet, so it wasn't like in my like wheelhouse at that point.
Sure.
But I can remember watching that movie as a 9 or 10-year-old and being like, all I wanted to do was be a Navy fighter pilot. Like that was it. I was like this age. I was a little younger than this, and having that experience and getting to see it. Samantha and I went to go see it too, and it was like it's different for us because if you saw it in the context of when it was at the ages we were, there was nothing
Yeah.
like Top Gun, The Goonies, Star
Yeah.
Wars,
Yeah.
Uncle Buck, like that was it.
Yeah.
But the movie was good. I thought it was good. I love the tattoo, by the way.
Thank you.
That's brilliant.
Thank you. Yeah. The meaning behind it, I'm not, maybe I am the type of person that gets a cultural reference tattooed on her body. That's totally fine by me. But what came out of that, the meaning behind Talk to Me Goose isn't just a line in a movie, but he's how you see him use it is I'm getting ready to do something. I'm getting ready to jump. I'm getting ready to risk my life, have my 6. And that is just that's the evolution of how I've seen my relationships grow. So I have another tattoo that's iron sharpens iron, which is talks about like each person you meet. I like people who sharpen me and make me better. And that was such a season for a long time. And now I'm really reached that season where like, you got my 6. All right, let's go take that on. So Talk to Me Goose is a cultural reference to the movie, but there's so much meaning in it for me because the people that are to my left and to my right and are in front of me and behind me, I look at them and say, all right, so we're gonna say no managers, like none. We have no managers in our company. We are flat. Talk to me, Goose. Like, you got this. Like, you got my 6. We're gonna figure this out. And the whole team's like, yeah, we got you, Goose. And I think that's just the essence of what we're doing right now. And so it was just the perfect tattoo for this season that we're in.
Right. Wow. That's good. We could do this for a long time, but
I know. And imagine if Bob was here, we could do it for twice as long as a long time.
oh my gosh, Bob, please say hello to Mr. Dabolsky. I want to thank you first and foremost. Like I always say, this homage is for you. Thank you for being the woman that you are. Thank you for pushing boundaries. Keep doing that. Most importantly, though, and where the heartfelt respect is in what you're doing. Keep showcasing to the world the way you're doing it, because you can be successful. You can be wildly successful as a woman entrepreneur, but the time and the space and the love and the care and all the other things that you give to your family are, and I get to see it through social media and things like that. Obviously, we're a few thousand miles apart or whatever, but is just immense. So continue to do that. Continue to push the boundaries of showing young women and young entrepreneurs that you can do these things. And I can say that now as a super grizzled veteran, almost over the hill. But it's awesome. So that's my homage to you. I'm turning the camera over to you. You close, give us whatever you want to say before we jump off. And thank you from the bottom of my heart, because your relationship has meant a lot over the last year and a half. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart.
Very, very much same. I think the thing that comes to mind as I was listening to you be so kind and generous is that none of this is easy. Like the idea of being successful and being a mom and being a present mom and being a leader and showing up, it's hard as fuck. Like it's the hardest thing I will ever do. But it's worth it. Every single moment, it's worth it. And then I also thought, and if Bob were here, he'd roll his eyes at me because I'll look back and be like, oh, the last 2.5 years, it wasn't that hard. And he'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, you weren't crying on the floor an hour and a half ago. That wasn't a thing that happened. But the thought that came to my mind is that what was hard for me a year and a half ago now seems easy. And what is hard for me today 2 months from now will not be hard. And so realizing that this too shall pass, this is a moment. I can't even say deeply. I am impassioned to build the thing that I see in my mind, and it's going to be hard. And so pain doesn't mean stopping. What I'm trying to say is pain doesn't mean stop. Don't stop because it's painful. Keep pushing through, keep figuring it out. And one day you're going to look back and someone's going to roll their eyes at you and be like, oh, that wasn't hard. Then why were you crying? Why were you crying? And I'm like, okay, it was hard, but it's less hard now. So dig in and don't give up. If you're holding on to something that you believe needs to be in this world, I need to be a mom. I need to be a business owner. I need both of those things. And you can do it. It's just hard. Sometimes it's hard.
Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's not hard, but
Yeah.
I think it's a great point. Whether you're 3 years in or, 3.5 years in or 15 and a half years in, there are challenges that I'm going through now for the first time that, I hope others like yourself, like I said, I think a lot of what you guys have gone through has been light years earlier than we did, but it was only because of the evolution.
Yeah.
Everybody's evolution is different. So thank you for being
Thank you.
Keep inspiring people. Keep
I'm gonna
inspiring
try.
people. And there goes the vacuum cleaner.
Well, thank you so much for empowering me. And yeah, I'm super glad that when you sent me that LinkedIn message, I wasn't like, who's this guy? I was just so excited to talk to you. And we're going to be in your area soon. So I'll text you directly and we'll see you.
You text me and we will do spaghetti.
At BS&Co?
At BS&Co.
I had it for lunch the last time we were there. Bob was kind enough to go all the way up to Times Square. And the only time we had was to have cheesecake. And that's what we had for lunch. And it was wonderful.
You might have changed my mind. I might go have cheesecake instead of ramen for lunch today. I feel like I need ramen. I don't know what it is. Ramen is just calling me today. And it's not like, it's pretty warm out. I don't know why I want ramen, but you
just need it. Go fill your soul. And then I'm going to see how quickly I can get back to BS&Co and get that cheesecake.
Freaking Instagram. You text me, you call me when you get up.
I will.
We'll definitely do it. And Britt, thank you again. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
Episode number 24 is in the books. Britt Schwartz from BS&Co. Rock on.
Love you.
Love you, Britt. Be good.
Bye.
Bye.